Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Largely untouched since World War II, the runways and taxiways that have made up the majority of tonight's circuit are known the world over for creating close and exciting racing. I personally finished instructing some up-and-coming racers this weekend and tried to impart on them this simple truth: smooth is fast. But here in Central Florida, the acres of concrete make smooth impossible. Welcome everybody to the 24th season of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by the SDK Foundation and Performa Elite here on Apex Racing TV. And tonight we're at Sebring International Raceway, where our drivers must respect the bumps to maintain control not only of their cars, but their focus. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry Lefty McLeod for tonight's 60-minute battle, and thankfully we as always have Jonathan Grabowski. He's in the virtual production truck, and he's going to be bringing you all the best camera angles and action that Apex Racing TV is known for. And so good evening, Larry. Great to meet up with you at what is going to be our virtual home for the next 2 weeks.
Yes, and Sebring, you know, there was a real world race there of some sorts last weekend.
A couple, actually.
Yeah, a couple of them, and we get to see what it's like to put slow cars around here. But you know what? As flat as this place is, it's the only thing missing from it being, to me, one of the best track layouts in the world is elevation. But otherwise, I love this layout. I think it has all the mix of different types of corners. It races very well. And in cars like our GR86s and our Miatas, it has a draft capability that lets pack racing be at its finest. Every time we come here in one of these slow cars, we end up, I say slow, it's all relative, but it ends up being one of those 3 wide finishes at the end. I think we may be in store for that again. I love this. I think I'm looking forward to some great side-by-side racing tonight.
Yeah, you know, in that way, Larry, it really mirrors real life. Earlier this week, I know the Global MX5 Cup, or now known as the Whalen MX5 Cup, had their races at Sebring, and it was a two-car fight for the finish, with the difference at the line being 4/1000ths of a second.
Photo finish.
Yes, and I think we've seen our share here in the Touring Car Cup as well. But let's do this. Why don't we turn things over to Kevin Ford? And what Kevin is going to do is he does almost every week here in the Touring Car Cup. He's gonna give us our track guide here of Sebring.
Welcome, everyone, to Sebring International Raceway. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this iconic road course that dates all the way back to 1950. There is certainly something special about this course with its bumpy variety of track surfaces and technical corners. This place is a challenge for drivers even on their best day. Well, let's begin our lap around this 3 3/4 mile road course. As we head up the front straightaway, you'll notice our pit area to the right, all the campers to the left. As we cross the stripe, we'll get up some good speed here as we head down into turn 1. Very fast sweeping left-hander here, very wide corner as well. Pit exit is just to our right there. Drivers will be very weary of cars coming out of the pits here as they move on through their event. Down through turn 2 here, a slight right, now into turn 3. It's a very difficult corner to find that apex, right down to the bottom, right back to the right through 3. Then we'll come right up through turn 4 and out of 5. And then we will approach turn 6 here as we head out onto the little short chute that'll bring us to the hairpin here at Sebring. Turn 7, the infamous hairpin. Very tight section. You will see overtaking down into the entry of this corner. Heavy braking down into first gear as we get through the apex, come right back up through the gears, and back out onto the next little short straightaway. Bit of a right and left-hander here as we come through 8 and 9. And approach our next right-hander, which is a very heavy brake zone and very tight here as we come down into Cunningham, making that right-hander through 10, now back through 11, up through the gears through 12. And then we'll approach Tower Corner, turn 13, leave it in third gear for this corner, take a little bit of curb on the bottom there. And then up through another very fast section here at Sebring. Double left-handers. So take us through 14, through Bishop. Then we'll get into the S's here of Le Mans. Slight right-hander, back to the left. And then we're going to roll here. Look for that center, come right back to throttle and get a good launch up onto this backstretch. Coming out of Le Mans, we'll pick up some great speed here. Of course, this is a big overtaking opportunity here on Ullman Straight. Overtaking down here into the final corner is very popular for drivers, but it is a doozy. As you can see, it's very bumpy through this section of the course. Getting a good run off of this turn here is very important, as this is going to take us to the start-finish line here. There you go. There's your track guide for beautiful Sebring International Raceway. Thank you for being with us.
All right, thanks so much to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of Sebring International Raceway. And you're watching right now Brennan Horn, driver of the number. Well, actually, I guess you're not watching Brennan Horn. Oh, yeah, maybe you are watching Brennan Horn.
I am.
All right, you are. I'm not for some reason. But you're watching Brennan Horn. He's going to be our interview guest a little bit later here, Larry. Hopefully he will be able to join us in the commentary booth before we go racing. But let's do this as we've got our drivers heading out on track now and working their outlap for tonight's qualifying session, where we give our drivers 15 minutes and 4 flying laps in order to set the fastest lap that they can and set the grids for tonight's races in the 2 different classes. In the Club Sport class, which is for our Toyota GR86 cars, much like Brandon Whitworth from D2D Sim Racing is driving right now. And then we've got our Street Tuner cars. Those are the Mazda MX-5s on track as we're taking a look right now at David Payton, who I believe was our fastest driver in the Mazda MX-5s this week. Oh, yeah, I'll double check on that. No, I'm sorry, it was his teammate Chris Thorman. Sorry, there, David. Chris Thorman was our fastest Miata driver in practice earlier this week. But those are our Club Sport cars and street tuner cars, and what we do is we split them into two different classes, Pro and Am. And so right now, as we are watching David Payton, there he is. There's our fastest Miata of the week. We know that David is in the Street Tuner Pro class, and we know that because he has the red number boards on his cars and red mirrors, as opposed to the Street Tuner Am drivers like Steve Daniel here from SDK Racing, because the Am drivers, they've got the green number boards and green mirrors. And if we jump back over to Club Sport, our Club Sport Am drivers, mix it up. Let's see if we could bring up an Am driver. There is one of our Am drivers. They're on track, and he is, and that is looking for the Klim Club. Where is the Klim Club? I don't see them in the chat
to join tonight.
Yeah, very late to join us this evening, but Mr. Klimovich there, he's in the Am category. You can tell the Am cars have the orange number boards and orange mirrors, whereas the Club Sport Pro drivers, much like, let's take a look and pull up one of our Club Sport Pro drivers there, and that is Matt Porter, pardon me, from Orion Racing. Our Club Sport Pro racers, they've got the black number boards and black mirrors on the cars. So we'll give them a little bit of an opportunity to set flying laps. And again, I'm waiting to see some times come in here. What we do, Larry, again, we give them 4 flying laps to set their fast laps, and this is what we call lone qualifying. So the drivers, it looks to them as though they have the entire course, all 3.741 miles, we'll call it 3 3/4 miles, and 17 turns here at Sebring, all to themselves.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to kind of really know who is the fastest on that golden flying lap scenario. Although the way both these types of cars and all 4 of our classes truly race is side-by-side drafting, so qualifying gets them close. But at this track especially, you really don't need to qualify on the front row if you think you want to win the race. You probably could do it from the second, third row. Although a very relatively low attendance here tonight. So a lot of good opportunities for points for some of our drivers who really need a good podium finish. This may be it, but it certainly is not void of talent. We've got plenty of the regulars here and a lot of fast drivers. So should be some really good racing, but I'm just surprised that our numbers a little bit are down from where I would expect them to be.
Yeah, me too. But again, I think we'll see here some very good racing this evening as we are starting to see our first times come in, Larry, and we'll take a look over at our Toyotas at the Club Sport Racers, where fastest driver in with the first lap is Andrew Sharp from Vermilion. I believe that's Vermilion Racing with a 225.93. Then Brandon Whitworth from D2D at only about 100th of a second off. And then if we take a look at the Am drivers, we've got David Klimovich, currently our fastest driver there with a 226.54. And second fastest in class, Dale Maxwell at a 227.14. If we move over to Street Tuner, over to the Mazdas in Pro, Chris Thorman, your fastest driver with a lap in the books. Or pardon me, I'm sorry. Let's take a look. Yeah, Chris Thorman with a 226.71 and Brennan Horan with a 227.09. So the 2 D2D racers up at the top of Street Tuner Pro. And in Am, Steve Daniel, who we saw a few moments ago. He's your fastest driver currently at a 227.8, and Robert Brist at a 230.17. We still have a number of drivers, Victor Harris, Tom Jenkins, Leo Dragotta, Eric Violet, David Payton, Mariano Barrios, that have not turned in times. And with the exception of Jenkins, I think, Larry, that's primarily because, well, they probably had an off track somewhere along the way on that first flying lap.
Yeah, it is one of those places. Sometimes you can pick one up, maybe Tower Curve, some of the other spots you can pick up an off track. But with 4 laps, at your disposal, you can come back on and get yourself a good one. In fact, what I find in both these cars, they need a little bit of heat in the tires. So if you're not your first lap that's your fastest, you're going to be able to get another one down the road here. But like I said, qualifying isn't super critical. It's kind of for bragging rights around this place tonight,
Right.
which Andrew Sharp doing a very good job right now, just ahead of Eric Violette. So right now he's got the bragging rights there in Club Sport Pro, and then at ST Pro, of course, Chris Thorman laying down the 26.4 so far, but so a lot of laps to be had.
All right, so Larry, let's do this quickly here as we do have a few moments. And of course, as I read those different colors off to you early, if you take a look at the timing tower that we put up on the left-hand side of the screen, you will be able to see what positions those racers are in. And let's quickly take a look back. 2 weeks ago, we were at Okayama, where it was round number 5. We had, instead of a single 60-minute race like we do tonight, we had 2 30-minute races. And we'll start off with Street Tuner, where in Street Tuner AM, our winner in race 1 was Steve Daniel, and then Victor Harris took the win in race number 2. And if we want to take a look at the point standings now in Street Tuner AM after 5 rounds, it is Victor Harris. It's currently tied with Steve Daniels. Robert Brist from RFC, pretty good distance behind, and Mr. Wilson there from Wilson Racing, no points on the board for him. He was here for, I think, round 1, but did not actually turn a wheel during the race, so 0 points for him. Let's move over to Street Tuner Pro, where Mike Chase from Chase Motorsports took the win in round 1, and Robert Hartley from Orion Racing Team took the win in race number 2. And with those finishes after 5 rounds, Robert Hartley has a 1-point advantage right now over his Orion teammate, Mike Dam. Travis Schwenke, also from Orion, he is sitting 3rd in the championship right now, and that is Larry, only 8 points back, and it's interesting. None of the 3 are here.
Yeah, we got Hartley, Dam, and Schwenke, 1, 2, 3 in the points. They are not here tonight, so it's a great opportunity for Chris Thorman, who is here tonight, and for David Payton, Brennan Horan, Jeff Cranston, the rest of them you can see there. I'm very surprised we haven't had a night without that Orion team here in the Street Tuner category for a while. So, yeah, this is a good opportunity for everybody else. Could still be good racing, but very surprised that our top 3 on the leaderboard are not here.
Yeah, indeed. And the only Orion teammates that we have right now are sitting over in Club Sport, in the
Correct.
Toyotas. Let's take a look over at, speaking of Club Sport AM, where Dale Maxwell took the win in the race 1 at Okayama, and he also followed it up with another win, winning in race number 2. So in Club Sport AM, unfortunately, not enough to move Dale up to the points lead. As a matter of fact, he's currently sitting 5th in the points with 169 points. Your current points leader, where's the Klim Club when you need them? There they are. They made the late arrival. Welcome, gang. David Klimovich, currently your points leader with a 2-point advantage over Tom Jenkins, and a 13-point advantage over Paul Carey, make it 14 points back to Rodney Carey.
And David currently on provisional pole for tonight's race. So we'll keep our eyes on that, but comes in with the points lead and currently has it sitting on the front row.
and eventually Christine F, she'll be able to actually type out Klim all in one shot. She's getting it 1 letter at a time. And if we look over at Club Sport Pro, Matt Porter took the win in race 1, while Eric Violette took the win in race 2 at Okayama. And looking at the championship right now, Eric Violette has the current advantage by I believe it's 7 points over Andrew Sharp, 259 to 252. Another 14 points back to Friendly Neighborhood Racing's Mariano Barrios. He has 238 points, and then another 5 points back from there, Matt Porter. All right, so Larry, it looks like we've got Brennan Horn. He's in the green room already. Why don't we bring in the D2D sim racing driver?
All right, Brennan Horn from D2D joining us here pre-race. Brennan, interesting tonight. I see a couple of names missing on the leaderboard. What is that going to do to the feel of tonight's race?
Oh, I'm not sure. Obviously, without Orion up there, it's going to be a little bit easier, but I'm just going to run my race like I usually do.
Yeah, well, I see a lot of D2D, certainly in the ST Pro class tonight. Right now on the grid, it's a 1, 2, 3 for D2D. Is the team been focusing? Is there team orders? Is there any sort of strategy amongst the team there to stay alive for the hour?
Well, obviously, we're going to try to work together at the first part of the race to break away from the rest of the pack, but no team orders. I think we all know what the goal is for this race. So, obviously, when it comes towards the end of the race, we're going to maybe do some different moves, but the first part, at least, we're just going to work together.
Yeah, because it could be a really good night for points opportunities. I think Chris came in at 4th. David's in 7th or 6th, yourself in 7th. It's been a bit of an up and down year for you this season. Are you trying to get refocused in as we get into the last third of the season and kind of see if you can get up into that top 5 range?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not too sure what happened this year with my performance, but if past performance means anything, I think I have a good near future at least ahead of me.
Yeah, Sebring's a track that I know a lot of us know, and certainly a lot of people run endurance races here. As a lot of people are getting ready for next weekend's 12-hour, are you doing the same? Have you been getting a lot of practice in here at Sebring lately?
I haven't for the 12 hours. I don't do too many events like that. I usually focus on just, club level stuff like this, but I have gotten a lot of practice in over the week for this event tonight.
Okay, well, I think you're in a pretty good position here. You having teammates around you is always a good thing. And best of luck tonight. Anything else you want to add here tonight before you get going?
Well, just thanks for having me, and yeah, keep an eye out for the end of the race if I'm still up there.
All right, Brennan Horn, good luck tonight. Starting so far, looks like on the outside of row 2, or the inside of row 2. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, there's Brennan Whitworth. No, that's Brennan Horn.
Yes.
Horn, Houran, Brennan Horn from D2D Sim Racing. All right, so Larry, we've got the seconds counting down in qualifying. We've got 10 seconds remaining. We still have some drivers they completed 3 flying laps. It looks as though they may forego their 4th. There you go. Poof, he's gone as the session ends. And we're going to be bringing up the starting grid here for tonight's race. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have all of our Toyotas starting up at the front of the field, all 14 of them. And then we will have the Mazdas starting just behind. And there'll be about a 10-second gap, Larry, between the Club Sport drivers and the street tuner racers. And so here, let me go and I'll start running down their Club Sport racers. Starting on the front row tonight is going to be Eric Violette from D2D Sim Racing, and next to him from Vermilion Motorsports, Andrew Sharp. Mariano Barrios from Friendly Neighborhood Racing second. We'll start on the inside of row number 2 with Brandon Whitworth, from D2D. He's going to start 4th. And then we've got Bobby Childs, also from D2D, going to be starting alongside Leo Dragotta from Orion. That is going to be row number 3. Then we've got Matt Porter and Tom Rathke and Jeff Jacobs, along with Jeff Jacobs and Dale Maxwell. Then we've got Paul Carey and Rodney Carey. That rounds out your Club Sport field.
All right, over in the STs, our Mazdas on the pole tonight from D2D Sim Racing. It's going to be Chris Thorman by a lot, a good 0.6 margin there. He's flying out there. On the outside, though, is going to be one of his teammates. That's David Payton from D2D. But on row 2, it's the third of the D2D drivers, Brennan Horan. And then he'll be lined up with the Craney Customs driver, Jeff Cranston. In the ST M class, you've got on the pole tonight Steve Dana from SKKJ Racing. Alongside him is going to be Victor Harris from Rochelle's Racing. And then the third of the drivers entered there tonight, RFC Racing's Robert Briss.
All right, and the pace car now is on the march, on the roll, Larry, bringing the field down 3 3/4 mile pace lap here. In the meantime, as they're working their way around, let me also mention that new this season, sponsors for the Ricmotech Touring Car Cup is the SCCA Foundation, the 501c3 public charity that supports charitable and educational programs to further the Sports Car Club of America's purposes and for the benefit of the motorsports community as a whole. To find out more information, visit sccafoundation.org. And of course, qualifying was brought to you by Proforma Elite. You can find out more about them at proformaetg.com.
All right, so not the biggest field of Mazdas tonight. You can see them right there. Only 7 in the field total between the AMs and the pros. 4 pros, 3 AMs. But I think there'll still be a very strong pack, because even those AM drivers, Steve Daniel, Victor Harris, Robert Brist, are capable of sticking with the pack of these pros. So we might see all 7 of the Mazdas sticking together in their pack, as you mentioned earlier, about 10 seconds behind the start of the Toyotas out in front.
And Larry, this is going to upset a lot of people in the chat, but it looks to me like David Klimovich may be starting from the pit lane. He did not make the grid in time for the pace lap.
This could be an interesting thing. Yeah, starting in the pits here means he would likely come out about 4 or 5 seconds behind the field of the rest of those Toyotas, which means he should still be in front of the Mazdas. But that's a pretty big road he's got to get ahead on. Now, he was your pole sitter in the Yams there in the Club Sport, so he does have the pace, but he's going to find himself probably back behind, maybe about 5 to 8 seconds there behind Rodney Carey, Paul Carey, who are in the last row of the Toyotas right now. So he's going to have a pretty road ahead, but he's got 1 hour to do it, to get back and try and pass all of them.
Yeah, indeed. Now, luckily for him, at least in AM, only 5 drivers in the class, including David. Now, as we've mentioned before, however, Larry, is the points you gain from winning a race are dependent on not just whether you're in the pro category or you're in the AM category, but where you finish overall in that Club Sport class.
Yep. And that's part of what I mentioned. It's also a really good night for any of the ST drivers, because there are only a total of 7 cars. It's a great night for points, whether you're in pro or AM, having a small field. And so, definitely big opportunity there for a point tonight, as we're around, I believe it's 6 out of 8 this season. So good way to start the final push for the season.
All right, and so the field now, Larry, coming out of Jean de Bien and Le Mans at the final corners, penultimate corner, coming onto the Ullman Straight, the long back straight here at Sebring. You can see our street tuner, or probably our Club Sport field, getting nicely lined up as they're going to come into the final corner, into the Sunset Bend here momentarily to get things underway. Again, Eric Violette, our pole sitter, Andrew Sharp to his right in the Vermilion Motorsports car. The left-hand lane, that's the inside lane that'll head down into that sweeping left-hander down at the end of this runway. Pace car is on the pit lane for our Club Sport racers, Larry. And green flag is in the air. And look at this, Larry. Both Eric Violette and Mariano Barrios from the inside getting a great start, where it appears as though Sharp and that entire outside lane just did not move whatsoever. And that's going to move now Bobby Childs up in the 3rd position as well, dropping our outside pole sitter Sharp down in the 4th position, as our street tuner racers, our MX-5s, they're getting the green flag now.
Yeah, I wonder if Sharp got caught in the wrong gear, so a tough start there, packed up that whole row. We'll see how that sorts it out as our Mazdas are underway, and it looks like your pole sitter Thorman is going to hold it inside, but they're going to go too wide down into turn 1. Let's see if this shakes itself into a single file here before
and
they
there's
get to
Klimovich. Yeah, Larry, and there's Klimovich trying to rejoin, and he's going to rejoin right within that entire battle of the street tuner.
I'm sure he was hoping to be in front of this group, but maybe his grid spot or his pit lane spot was a little bit far down the order. That's unfortunate, because now he's got to go and pass. You can see right there, he's got 6 of those Mazdas in front of him. They look like they're about half the size of the GR86. And that's tough. It's going to be tough. Had he been in front of him, he could run his own pace. Now he's got to work his way through traffic, because all these Mazdas, they're wanting to fight each other. They obviously know the Toyota's not their fight, but they don't want to give up track position either. So it'll be interesting for the opening laps.
Exactly, and I fear that it's going to be awfully difficult running for Klimovich, Larry, because one of the notes that we had from this week in testing is that although the Toyota drivers felt maybe the Mazdas kind of park their cars in the corners, they're able, because of the, we've talked about this weight transfer issue with the Toyotas over and over again, the Mazdas are able to put the power down and get out of corners much more quickly than the Toyotas. And so even though it'll make things challenging for Klimovich here as he's trying to move on. As we jump over now to our Club Sport Racers, and we are looking back there from Bobby Childs back to Andrew Sharp, who started on the outside row, the Vermilion Racer, now currently sitting in 4th position. We've got Bobby Childs there up in 3rd for D2D, and for the moment, Violet from D2D and Mariano Barrios there is starting to open a little bit of a gap at the front of that field.
Look at the line difference there between Bobby Childs went around the outside versus Sharp down the inside. Much shorter distance. Now, Bobby gets the run down the front straightaway, but let's see if Sharp decides to make a move. I also noticed that Mariano Barrios may have some connection issues tonight. If you notice a little bit of blinking going on, let's hope he's able to, that we know what happens when your internet can go, right, Greg? And it can ruin your night very quickly. Oh, no, speaking of ruining nights already, that should be Matt Porter.
No, that's Leo Dragotta, the 119 machine.
And right around the corner, that's Jenkins, I think, the 68.
The midfield motorsports car that goes around
parked
as
right
well.
there on the exit of turn 1. He's going to resume, but he's got some damage on the front end. Let's see if John can get us a replay queued up.
Yeah, so that's now going to drop Dragotta back to the back of the pro category, put him in 9th. Let's take a look and see what happened to him.
All right, so you can see Dragotta now trying to get down the inside. He's on the inside of Whitworth, and he's going to spin, and then I'm guessing we're about to see a Jenkins. Oh, a few others actually came along and clipped that stranded Dragotta, and then Jenkins must have gotten caught up downstream.
Yeah, and that's a horrible place to be. It's a horrible feeling to be stuck there, Larry. But he was as he's past the apex there. Those drivers were coming around the corner, coming past the apex, and just finding that car right in their path.
A quick other replay. Here's Jenkins himself coming through, and he tries to avoid that's what it is. He tries to make the move to avoid the stranded car when he finally sees it, and he just puts himself into a slide. So luckily, it doesn't look like a huge impact, but enough to cause some damage. We'll see if his car is okay. Taking a look at this train of Mazdas, again, you got Klimovich to the back of it. I just took a look at qualifying. Klimovich was faster than all of the Mazdas in qualifying, except for pole sitter Thorman. Everybody else, it was actually Klimovich could be faster than. The question becomes, is he faster in the right places to be able to make passes?
And then maybe a stroke of luck there for at least one position. We already have the one Toyota of Tom Jenkins, the midfield driver. He's now falling back almost into the clutches of those Mazdas, Larry. So, there's although there are a number of machines, a number of cars between Klimovich and that last car, there are still.
If there's one car, though. If you're David Klimovich, if there's one car that's crucial to you, it is Tom Jenkins, because Jenkins comes in second in points. Klimovich comes in the lead by a mere 2 points. So if you're Klimovich, you need to really get ahead of Jenkins, and that race may have just come to you. An hour's a long time. If Klimovich is got a healthy car and Jenkins has a bit of a limping car, that could play into the hands.
And Larry, speaking of limping cars. Paul Carey, who was the first car I think that we saw just kind of clip Dragotta over by turn 1. That machine has been limping back to the pits, and Paul Carey now on the pit lane.
Yeah, he's the other one.
Yeah, so that moves Klimovich up ahead. We didn't really see what the after effects were, but I think we can tell apparently that number 141 machine got hurt.
Yeah. So, but they're both into the pits now. So those are a couple of spots that Klimovich is able to overcome. But take a look at this battle now as we're watching Andrew Sharp just ahead of Porter, Whitworth, Bobby Childs. And you can see right there as Porter's going to pop out. Now, these guys have kind of lost sight a couple seconds up the road to Violet and Barrios. They've been doing so much fighting back here, which really, if you remember, started when Sharp had that terrible start and got backed up. I think because he got such a bad start, now he's going to work his way past this. It's caused the gap, this 3.5, almost 4 seconds or so, up to the bunch to Violet and Barrios in front of them. So Sharp has the pace to catch them. And if the guys in front, Violet and Barrios, are starting to tire manage, maybe Sharp can get there. It'll be real interesting to see if he wears his tires out doing it, or if he's able to bring this whole pack of 3 others with him. Or if they let him.
I was just going to say, or they let him do it.
Yeah, Porter looks really racy. Of course, we're on board there with Brandon Whitworth. And Bobby was an opportunist when he had the opportunity there in front of him. So all 4 of these guys could be pretty racy. And there you go. There's Porter with Whitworth now on board to push. Yeah, look at the little bit of push draft as they come up to Sunset Bend. Yep, there, little bumps.
Little tap there before they turn in.
Yep.
And look how wide. How wide Porter pushes through there, takes that long line. He's going to go right to that little pocket on the outside of the track. And this time we see Porter, or pardon me, we see Sharp taking that same line as well.
Yeah, but that's the line I like. I like that line through there. It's kind of a bit of a, because the corner looks like a bit of a decrease in radius, kind of to dive a little bit deep early and get that late apex, and it gets you a good run down the front straight. As we are now mid-pack of the Mazdas, the D2D boys are fighting it out in front, and Tom Jenkins now is falling behind them after he's got that damage on board, and I'm sure Klimovic can see Jenkins now up in front of him.
Yeah, we just saw Klimovic. He's probably about 40 car lengths back. Had just been coming through Sunset. I was going to say, where the other part of that, and the line through Sunset, and we just watched this with the street tuner cars, with the Miatas, or MX-5s, pardon me, is if you stay very tight to that wall on driver's right and take a very tight entry there, it is much bumpier than on the outside, and it will very much jostle the car around. Never mind the fact that it really binds up the front wheels for these slower, more momentum-based cars.
I find the issue with Sunset Bend is if you aim for a shallow turn, it's more predictable, more reliable. Because if you miss that braking point, or if you kind of brake a little bit wide and it kind of slides out, you have room to recover. If you're aiming for that wide line and you miss it, you're all the way out, and essentially it's marbles, and the car's just
marbles and into the wall.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those, you aim for about the first third out from the wall on the initial braking point, and let it carry you out, and then you end up, there's an apex point on the wall, and there's also the pylon right on the edge of the grass, that sort of peninsula that sticks out. That's about where I tend to look for coming off of that corner. But if you aim any deeper than that, you're probably going to be out in those marbles.
And we're watching right now what is truly, and again, in a smaller street tuner field tonight, but some D2D dominance up at the front, as we're looking at Chris Thorman, David Payton, and Brendan Horn. 1, 2, 3. Thorman was your fastest driver in practice this week. He had a time of 2:27 flat. So right now, race pace is a little bit more than a second off that. But let's jump now, Larry, over to the battle for the lead in club sport between Eric Violette from D2D and Mariano Barrios.
These guys are setting a blistering pace right now. Yeah, 6 seconds ahead of Whitworth, Porter, Childs, and Sharp. These two, I think they're playing nice. I think Barrios is recognizing that opportunity to just follow Violet and just put gap between them. Obviously, we're talking about a 60-minute race here. There's going to be a pit stop tonight. There's a lot of variables, and these two know you got to build a little bit of a lead. Maybe at that point they could do some fuel save, maybe they could do some tire saving, but right now they're just trying to clear that field line.
Yeah, and of course the draft here works so well, Larry. You know, you probably want to extend this out for quite some time. Right now the gap is, though, it's what, about 6.5 seconds or so from our leaders back to Whitworth. But you can never be too safe. All it takes is a couple corners side by side through, go through Cunningham and Collier, and through Tower onto the back straight, onto the Flying Fortress straight, and next thing you know, Whitworth's knocked half of that off, and he's only 3 seconds back.
It's one of those things around this place is you can run side by side around a lot of this track in this pace of a car, but it's not as fast as a single file lap.
Right.
We run tracks like Phillip Island, Interlagos. Your lap times don't fall nearly as far as they do here.
Right.
Maybe it's because there's some straightaways off of these corners, and it just completely handcuffs you if you're side by side exiting from the corner. So I think both Barrios and Violet, they recognize that, and they're just going to do their thing. But I think you mentioned if they can do some fuel saving out there, they can definitely make those pit stops shorter. don't be surprised, as Eric Violet's been leading this race since the green flag. I wouldn't be surprised if he lets Barrios by at some point so he can get in on some of that fuel save.
Yeah, do a little bit of lift and coast, maybe use the draft a little bit to save some fuel, which is really key here, given how much flat out running you do have here. All right, let's check back in with David Klimovich here in his machine as he's trying to still find his way through our street tuner racers. He is now, Larry, although he has 4 of the Mazdas between he and Rodney Carey, he is now sitting 3rd in street tuner.
And critically, he got around Tom Jenkins. That's the one. Tom had that spin there going into 1 when Jagoda was stranded out there in front. That seems to have cost both track position and pace, and now that's cost him a position. Klimovich is getting by his rival. Now Klimovich can focus on Maxwell and Carey out in front. It's not out of the realm of possibility he could still win this race in the AM category.
Yeah, no, there is a long way to go. As well, we'll see here as we've got Steve Daniel taking a look to the inside of the Toyota.
Yep. There's that wide entry that Klimovich took to try and avoid these other Mazdas, but he may have even missed his braking point by just a little bit. Never got down to that apex, but he's going to try and make that run all the way around, stay ahead of Daniel, but he kind of lost a couple of car lengths to in front of him. I think that's
directly ahead of him. That is
Jeff Cranston.
Probably Jeff Cranston. Yeah. All right, let's move back over to the Toyotas, over to Club Sport, and this is that second pack, Larry, as we've talked with Violet and Barrios kind of scooting away here. But look at this, Whitworth leading the train of Porter, Childs, Sharp. Looks like Jeff Jacobs is in there. Tom Rathke is in there as well. That whole pack, and it's not until you then have the gap back to the AM drivers, which are a little further back.
Yeah, remember that Andrew Sharp qualified 2nd in this race. He qualified ahead of Mariano Barrios, and here he is 8 seconds back from him, and he's not even leading the 2nd pack. He's currently 4th in the 2nd pack, or 3rd in the 2nd pack, and it's amazing how much slower you are when you start getting into this fighting. As you can see here, he's got Bobby Childs in front of him, Matt Porter, he's got Brandon Whitworth, and Sharp just can't get, I mean, these are all good racers, but it shows you the difference between a fighting group 8 seconds back from a not fighting group in Violet and Barrios. So Rathke and Jacobs have also joined the Klim Club, or sorry, not the Klim Club. They've joined the Club Sport Club. That's the only thing this one's missing, is it's missing a Klimovich. Otherwise, all of them would be together. I thought everybody joined the Klim Club.
What does that graphic say? It says subscribe to Apex Racing TV. Yeah, subscribe to the Klim Club. There you go. Larry and I are changing our alliance. Wow.
We are. I used to just be a Bobby fan. Now I may be on the Klim Club wagon. Yeah, look at this train as they go through here. Again, Bobby having a good solid run with this group. Right now it's Brandon Whitworth kind of out there. He would love to gain that 8 seconds back that he's down, or 7 seconds or so down from the front too, but I don't know that anybody wants that to happen at this point, or at least wants to allow it. They all want to say, let me lead and you guys can follow me. Flash back to our Mazdas. Not much has changed. Is Dorman still...
Yeah, I mean, Horn's dropping off just a little bit. Maybe if John can bring up the graphic, I'd like to see maybe what the relative lap times, the last couple laps of Horn compared to, there you go, compared to Peyton. Yeah. And you can see there almost, after having made up about a half second, he turned around and lost almost a second over the next 3 laps.
Yeah, he's got to really watch it. This 1 second deficit that he has right now to his teammates is about the limit of the draft. It may go just a hint beyond that, but if he doesn't hit his breaking point and get back on throttle in a couple of key places, this hairpin being one of them, he could easily lose that draft to those 2 teammates out in front.
Now, we also saw there was a shot of Brennan's car, the nose of his car early on, and it looked as though there was a little bit of damage there at the front, Larry, and I thought, well, maybe it's due to bump drafting. but I'm wondering if that is enough to possibly give him a little bit less straight line speed than the two cars ahead of him. It doesn't look all that bad from here.
Yeah, that's that typical bump drafting nose that we've seen quite a bit in the pack racing of these Mazdas, but I don't know that we've ever seen too much. But when you're by yourself, it may just be a bit of a hindrance to straight line speed, like you said.
And look at this, Larry, as we've got Andrew Sharp now falling back in the 7th position. Tom Rathke just drove by him like he was standing still on the front straight there.
This has got to be frustrating right now for Andrew Sharp. Again, having started this race in the front row, he was expecting to be battling with Eric Violet and Mariano Barrios for the lead. I mean, he's battling with good drivers, but like you said, he's down in 7th, and now maybe losing a little bit of distance to the group in front there of Childs, Porter, and Whitworth.
Yeah, I mean, Rathke looked like he just easily drove by him on the Oldman Straight.
Yeah, what if there was an issue for Sharp coming off
maybe
of the
a slowdown or something?
Yeah.
And certainly Jeff Jacobs is right in the thick of that as well.
Yeah.
Well, look at this, Larry. Just a
lap
ago.
There.
Yeah, just a lap ago, we were worried about Brendan Horn dropping out of the draft, and he's right up to the back of his two teammates.
I doubt they waited for him. I think he just was able to go ahead and hit those marks and a couple of those, like I said, key spots. Turn 7's a key spot, 17's a key spot, the exit of the S is a key spot. You hit those 3. If there's a 4th one, it's probably the tower turn. Everywhere else, you can just kind of do what you got to do. But if you hit those on a good lap, you can definitely bring yourself right back into the fight, which looks like he did.
So what I'm looking at now is where Peyton, Thorman, and Horn are in relation to the back of the Toyotas. Simply because I'm looking to see how much ground Klimovich would need to make up in order to get up to Rodney Carey, who's running 2nd in class. And well, there we go. There's the track map for us, color-coded by class. Thank you very much. And so, as we see here and as we're on board with Peyton, there's Klimovich. And so Klimovich is the car he's highlighted. We see they're coming out of the tower turn, going onto the Flying Fortress straight. And he's leading that group. So if you look at that red number 1, or actually behind the red number 1, I'm sorry, just now, and we'll see the quick left-hand turn here to Jean-Bien.
As he's going through those S's.
Yeah.
But one thing to note is going to be the lap times that Klimovich is putting down. So his best lap of the race so far is a 26.6. His last was a 27.4. I'm looking at Dale Maxwell, who's the leader in the M category, 26.9, 3/10 slower, and a 27.7 last time. So Klimovich has taken a couple tenths out, it seems, every single lap. And there's Maxwell all by himself. Can't really judge what's happening at everybody else's pace. But right now, he's, about 14 seconds clear of Klimovich.
Yeah, and basically, we just saw there as Maxwell gets down in the turn 1, Rodney Carey was just coming out of Sunset onto the front straight.
Yeah, maybe it's about total 25 seconds now to Klimovich, but he's 11 seconds to Carey, another 14, 13 and a half to Klimovich. Klimovich is closing a little bit. I think he was at 1.17 from Rodney Carey, so we're going to keep an eye on that.
And look at this, Larry. Brendan Horn now moves up into 2nd in Street Tuner Pro. Gets around David Payton.
Well, he looks like he's picked up his pace a little bit. Whatever happened to him that had made him fade, he certainly has overcome that. And now he's back to being racy. And like you said in the pre-race, there was no team orders. The strategy was just to be there in the end. Don't kill your teammates. And he kept saying something like, well, just wait and see if I'm there at the end. Just see if I'm there at the end. And
it's like he read the script before anybody else did.
Yeah, and maybe that was his plan, just to be there. Look at Thorman going a little bit squirrely coming off of 7, but keeps it together. Might be enough, though, for Horan to duck to the inside on the driver's right.
So much so that he's right up the lower trailing arm of the rear suspension. And so, Larry, right now, our Club Sport racers, the Toyotas, they're about to start lap 9, which is about 2 laps into the start. 2 laps into the start of what we think the pit window is here for them. The Street Tuner cars, the Mazdas, who are also just about to start lap 9, right at the beginning of their pit window. We think this race will probably go somewhere around the lines of about 25 laps this evening. So, and we're about a third of the way through at this point.
All right, so let's take a look back at our battle of our club sports.
Ooh.
As now Whitworth has fallen behind the 19 of Porter.
Yeah.
And now Bobby Childs, with Whitworth struggling there, coming off of 17. Bobby Childs now steps up into that 4th spot. So it's Porter in 3rd, Childs 4th, Whitworth. And then you get that gap to Rafke, Jacobs, and then Andrew Sharp, who continues to struggle tonight.
Yeah. And, and we saw there coming out of Sunset onto the front straight, both Whitworth and Childs having to fight that weight transfer. But it really upset the back of the number 42 machine. Whitworth had a lot of trouble there as the car was getting dangerously close to the wall on driver's left, and it was a good opportunity for Childs to move up. So we'll see here. Right now, that puts Childs in 4th position, just off the podium. Porter sitting in 2nd, or probably sitting in 3rd.
Look at these guys here. The little battle between Cranston and Steve Daniel. These are different classes, but the racing is no less exciting between them. And then you of course, you throw in Jenkins there, who's different car, yet different class. And all 3 of them had a pretty good battle.
Yeah, and so Cranston, who is sitting 4th in pro, he was our season 23 AM champion. And so he was elevated up into the pro ranks this season, where obviously, he's finding the competition quick, and he finds himself once again with some of the AM drivers that he was able to beat last year, Larry. And he has to now find a way around to get up to the folks that he's actually competing with.
Yeah, but these guys, Cranston and Steve Daniel, having a really good battle right now.
Yes.
Again, there are points on the line. They may not be scored against each other, but in the end, they are competing for each other's points. As all the Mazdas gets the points on one scale. Look at this. It looks like Cranston's going to get the outside run, but Daniel holds his line. I think they're into. This should be 13.
This is a tower turn of 13, exactly.
And they're still side by side.
And
goes to Daniel.
Yeah, and sitting right back behind him there is Tom Jenkins trying to get the monster draft, but then finding there's nowhere for him to go with it.
Yeah, but look at this. Cranston's going to try and hold the inside of the Yeses. Can't quite do it. Daniel's going to hold him in there. But Daniel's a little late here through these apexes. Let's see if Cranston gets a better run then onto the back straight. Jenkins might get the best run of all of them.
Oh, all right, and we've got now in the pits both Eric Violette and Jeff Jacobs now coming down the pit lane as well. And I think Violette just getting his fuel. As we said, we had just entered the pit window for the Toyotas.
Interesting for Violette to do that. Maybe just want to create separation. Mariano Barrios felt like maybe he had enough of Mariano trying to match his pace. If I'm Barrios, I would consider coming in. And I see the background there. Steve Daniels spun in 17.
That's it. Big cloud of dirt, or cloud of concrete, I guess. And yep, there is the Steve Daniel machine, the number 96 car.
See if there's any damage on it or not. I can't see it from this angle. Let's catch the replay. As here he is. He's chasing Cranston, and it looks like Cranston a little bit of a slide in front of him. That's about
normal. Did he get help? Oh, he got a little help, Larry.
He just might have gotten maneuvered near the pits, as they say.
All right, let's take a look. We'll get the overhead, but I think he might have gotten help.
Yeah, the car is light. You can see Jenkins there for the midfield motorsports entry. He's got a run on the inside and thought he could hold it, and he definitely makes contact with that right rear corner and spins Daniel around. They are looking at that to no one's surprise. The stewards are going to take a look. I feel bad for Steve Daniel because the battle he was having with Jeff Cranston was really good.
It was really good, yeah.
Don't be surprised if he just comes into the pits here as soon as his window opens for those Mazdas.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised. It didn't look like he was past the pit entrance when he got the car righted, but I would have thought that he probably would have just brought the car down the pit lane that time by. All right, let's look here as this is, and we've got another driver going around, over at turn 16 at Le Mans, coming onto the back straight, the Ullman straight, and that is,
that's Brandon Whitworth.
Yeah.
Yes, the other D2D driver who had actually been leading that train. He was just ahead of Bobby coming into that section, and that does not look good. Let's catch this replay. So he was actually the trailing driver in this threesome, as you got Porter then Bobby.
Porter.
And as he hooks the curbs, he does, and he catches a bit of a slide, and that wall gets there fast.
Oof. Yeah, and we've talked so often, both this season, Larry, and last season, on how high curbs can really affect these Toyotas because of all the weight transfer that they do. All right, coming down the pit lane now, Dale Maxwell, and so he's pitting in from the lead in Club Sport AM.
Yep. Probably sticking to whatever plan he started this race with. It's a smart move, especially when you don't have any traffic around. You just do what you can do within yourself. Don't overthink it. So he'll come in, he'll get his done. We already saw Jeff Jacobs that came in. And, of course, Eric Violet, original race leader, also came in to do his pit stops. We'll kind of keep our eye on the rest of the field as they make their way. Penalty has been assigned, really not much surprise, to Tom Jenkins. 10-second post-race penalty for his contact with his teammate.
And so, Larry, as we're watching this battle for the lead in Street Tuner, and Brendan Horn now falling back into third position as Chris Thorman and David Payton, works his way back around the blue 45. Here, the other thing to notice is Mariano Barrios now just sets fast lap of the race, as he wasn't behind Whitworth. Now the question is how much fuel is he using up?
Well, there could be a couple things happening. Laps. These tires definitely like to be warm, so that helps. They're in probably really good condition right now. There may be some air temps that are helping, but also the light and fuel load. He's got a very light fuel load relative to his rival Violet, who already came in and topped his off as early as he could. So Barrios doing all that he can, running his pace. I was surprised he didn't try to match the pit strategy, maybe come in a lap later and catch back up with Eric Violet, but maybe instead he felt he had pace in store, and so he could just run his own pace and try to outrun Violet. We'll keep our eye on their gap between them.
Yeah, I was gonna say and let's put this lap time in the back of our heads. Here, the out lap, or the next lap out after the fuel stop for pardon me, not Whitworth, for Eric Violet was a 253.
Mm-hmm. And there may be some variance to that because of pit stall position.
That is true, yes.
So we'll have to keep an eye. It's the next flying lap. We'll see if Violet now can get on pace into those 25s like Barrios is now running, and like Violet had run earlier in the night. Can he get back to that right now on a full fuel load and with some clean air likely in front of him? We'll keep our eye on that. But look at this, as Porter now with a Bobby Childs kind of pressuring him. Bobby bringing the D2D pressure to the Orion team there in front of him. The lead Orion car now, of course, with the issues with Dragotta earlier.
All right, and driver that was in this group, Brandon Whitworth, who we just saw have that issue over at Jean de Bian. He is now on the pit lane as well.
What did you call it?
Jean de Bian.
Your French is better than mine.
Yeah, I know. Hold on. Gracias.
Yeah, see. Now you know where I was last week instead of calling our World Challenge race. But let's move back on as our Mazdas continue, these D2D drivers. With no Orion drivers, if you're just joining us, no Orion drivers in the field tonight in the Mazdas. There are a couple, of course, in the Toyotas, and a good opportunity. And you can see that the three drivers in D2D are doing what they're supposed to do and putting on a pretty good fight here as we've just passed the halfway mark in our 60-minute race.
All right, and Larry, look at this. This is Klimovich, who now moves up into second in the Toyotas, in AM, pardon me, into Club Sport AM, with Jeff Jacobs directly ahead. And Jacobs currently running 7th in Club Sport Pro. But Klimovich has made up a number of positions overall.
Yeah.
Or from where he started, at least. He's a net -3 at the moment. Oh, and going around.
Yeah, it's Rodney Carey.
Yeah. And he was your AM leader, Larry. And he now only has two cars. The next two cars in line behind him are Jacobs and Klimovich. And
Well,
they
he
are
had the
actually
lead.
starting to close things down.
He did have the lead, of course, when Maxwell pit, but let's see how he does here. Coming into, I believe that's 10. Oh, that's Tower, actually. That's 13 as he gets a little bit of that dirt. Didn't hit anything. Lucky for him,
No,
lost
that was
a lot of time.
actually, I think, Larry, I think you were right. I think that was over 10 and 11. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's one
All
of
right,
those.
Tom.
But, yeah, Tom Rathke is in from his battle that was going on with Childs and Sharp. So we're going to keep an eye on that gap from Klimovich to Rodney Carey after the spin. You can see it's down to about 3.5 seconds. Neither of those drivers have pit yet. So Klimovich with a chance there. And then we'll keep our eye on the gap to Maxwell, who has pit. And he's behind them both right now. And there he is. He's about 13 or almost 14 seconds behind Klimovich, who's then another 4 seconds or so behind Rodney Carey, your current leader in the class. As they're now intermixing classes, that's Rathke coming out of his pit stop right in front of the Mazdas.
Yeah, right in front of our street tuner leaders.
Yeah. And I think that's Rodney Carey after his little bit of a spin wiggle right behind the pack of the Mazdas.
All right, so Jeff Cranston and Steve Daniel now on the pit lane.
Remember, they had that good fight going on until the pit maneuver spin that took Daniel around for a little bit of a sightseeing at 17. As expected, Cranston gets away from his pit stall first. We'll see what the gap is. Probably only about 6-7 seconds, actually.
Yeah, not very long. The difference in pit stall time was just about 6 seconds.
Okay.
And then it's just a question of when Daniel gets out.
It's about 7 seconds, it looks like, between them on track right now, and that could change, but a good stop for both of them. And maybe Steve Daniel could still get back in this, with them. He is still in third place in the AM category.
AM category, yeah.
Cranston's in fourth in pro, but
yeah. And a matter of fact, Steve Daniel, I think, had did a much better job of sticking on the pit speed limiter, Larry, as his pit lane time was almost 6 seconds less than Jeff Cranston's.
Wow. That's pretty good. All right, but taking a look at here as we've got Bobby Childs and Matt Porter currently running on track as second and third, but Bobby having a good race here with Porter.
Yep. Neither driver has pitted in as Barrios continues to reset fast lap. And so for the Toyotas, Larry, we think that they can manage, probably without some extreme fuel saving, about 18 laps. And so for Mariano, that would be about another 3.5 laps. All right, coming in, a couple of our D2D leaders in Street Tuner is both Chris Thorman and Brennan Horn come in. That is going to leave David Payton in the 64 D2D machine as your leader. Rodney Carey coming in.
Tires for Horn.
Ooh.
Interesting. If we decided to just take the two free ones. Nope, right side's going up as well.
Other sides too.
Bit surprised at that strategy. I don't think we've seen anybody doing that yet tonight as Thorman pulls away.
Although, Larry, if you look at it there, Horn didn't lose a ton of time.
No, honestly, I'm surprised. It's probably only maybe 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And in the next 20 minutes of this race, that could come into play. So interesting move there for Horn with the fresh rubber. Yeah, look at that. He's not that far back.
All right, Larry, let's do this. I know we are still waiting on Barrios, Childs, and Porter in the Toyotas to pit. We're still waiting on David Payton to see where he comes out. But we're just past the top of the hour. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick little break? We'll thank some of our partners and sponsors, and when we come back, we'll take our viewers all the way to the checkered flag here at Sebring, where you are watching round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by the SCCA Foundation. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org. The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sebring International Raceway and round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup. I'm Rick Rennsport along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And Larry, we're just about 2/3 of the way through this 60-minute fight. And look at this. This is the battle for second in Street Tuner between teammates David Payton and Brennan Horn, as their teammate Chris Thorman continues to lead. But the big difference, Thorman hasn't come in for his pit stop yet.
Thorman has, but I don't believe he took tires. I think the other two may have both taken tires, and that
yes,
might
he
be
has.
leading to our gap here. But let's see if the tires start to come in for these guys, and if they play nice and maybe start bump drafting down the longer straightaways to gain some lap time. So we'll see if that also, it should come down to some traffic, as we have seen some interacting going on between the Mazdas and the Toyotas. So we'll keep our eye on that battle, as this is still ongoing. That's, of course, Jeff Jacobs, currently running in 7th in Pro, and David Klimovich, who for the time being is in the lead in the AM. And you and I were speculating during the break that maybe Klimovich should have pit to create separation. And it doesn't look like he's going to. He's going to stay,
and he's not this time either. And,
unless he's saving fuel.
And we joked also, actually, the Director John was joking about having to get around the widest Toyota in the business. Yes. We typically refer to Jeff Jacobs as the widest Mercedes in the business from his running in the World Challenge. But yeah, he's either doing a real good job, or Klimovich is doing exactly what you said.
I'm so glad he's a skinny guy, because if you start making he's a wide guy jokes, I feel bad. No. But I don't feel bad about saying that about Jeff. He does run good, consistent, solid lines. He is always a tough pass in every series we've ever run, and no exception. But I'm starting to look at Klimovich's body language in that car. I don't think he's trying.
No, he's not trying,
I think he's fuel saving.
He's pulling up right to the back bumper within inches. That is not an attempt to make a pass. That is an attempt to
I think he's lift coasting. I think he's trying to save a little bit of fuel going into the pit stops. I think maybe he's thinking he can really cut that fuel stop down. His main rival again should be Maxwell, although we know Jenkins has not stopped, but Jenkins is behind him. But we think Maxwell's probably the biggest of the rivals Rodney Carey's the other one he's got to watch for it. Oh no, that's Peyton,
wow.
your leader.
Well, he's your leader no longer.
Well,
He was running second.
He was running second, yeah.
Yeah, he was running second. This is probably the best thing that could have happened to Brennan Horn, because we saw Horn starting to get very aggressive on his teammate.
Let's see if he got too aggressive before we say too much.
Yeah.
As Horn, no, he's backed off. No. This is all Peyton all by himself.
Yeah, because the point I was going to make, Larry, is we had Horn on the brand new tires, and it looked like he was trying to take advantage of them early. Yeah. And so he can probably use this now with a little bit of a gap. Yeah, he doesn't have a draft, but he can probably use this to his advantage to get back up to the leader.
On board with Horn, and you can see how quickly Horn has to react as they turn into, I think it's turn 3 here. He's like, which way? And then finally he steps out of the direction. That'll easily create a code brown moment for you if you're Brennan Horn, but he, cool as can be, makes his way around his teammate. No contact there, but he did lose a little momentum. We'll see if now he can make a run to his other teammate, Chris Thorman, who's got the lead of the race.
All right, so Klimovich now getting around Jeff Jacobs, not using the opportunity to pit. He's going to try and get in, maybe he tries to get in one flyer before he brings the car in.
It's going to be very interesting for Klimovich now, because we're past the 42nd minute here, so just about 18 minutes or so here before we see checkered flag, and he still hasn't pit. He's stretching this out as long as he can. Had a lot of laps there behind Jeff Jacobs. We'll see now if he puts in maybe one flyer and then comes into the pits. He and Tom Jenkins are the only cars, I take that back, they're the only cars at AM still yet to pit. Barrios, Childs, Porter, and Sharp in the pro category still yet to pit as well.
That's right, and we anticipated that the pit window would probably extend to lap 18 for all of our Toyota drivers, Larry, and guess what lap we're on now?
We are on lap 18.
Lap 18 it is. So Barrios now coming on. He's going to come through Jean-Bian into Le Mans and onto the back straight. We'll see if he pits in from the lead.
He's been running some decent laps. He just reset fastest lap again at a 25.3 this time, until Eric Violette just ran a 25.2. And I'm sure if he's got a spotter helping him, he would know that information. But right now, those two running pretty equal pace. We'll see how good of a pit stop Mario Barrios can do when he does come in. We might be seeing a bit of a photo finish developing here with he and Eric Violette, who, remember, when Eric pit, Eric was just ahead, and here comes Barrios in for his stop.
Here we go.
The longest pit lane. At least it feels like it. We know it's not Road America. But yes, but it feels like, especially when you're in the race, you're watching the clock, you know the delta, you know your rival, you're doing everything you can to stay in front of him. So let's see what he can do. How fast is this pit stop? And there's Bobby Childs in for his stop. Let's see if Andrew Sharp and the others also follow. No, Sharp.
Porter continues. And Porter continues. That's going to move the Orion car up into the lead, the 19 machine.
Yeah. See if he
and
gets
Barrios is out.
Point for leading a lap. Barrios is out. Where is Eric Violette? Where is his rival?
And
he's going to be down.
Yes.
Violette a couple seconds back. Mariano Barrios assuming the effective lead. Yeah.
4 seconds he was able to make up, Larry, in that time that Violet had pitted in early.
It's about almost 3 second difference just on pit time. I'm telling you that I think Eric Violette may have done all he could to not give free draft to Mariano Barrios. But Barrios may have done a lot of lift and coast there while he had the chance behind Eric early in this race. That may be part of the reason why this fuel stop was so short for Mariano. We'll see if Eric's
Tom
got
Jenkins.
anything.
Tom Jenkins pitting in the Toyotas.
Oh, and he missed his pit stall. See that? He had to back up to get back in it. Well, we think he'll still come out behind Klimovich when Klimovich stops, as Klimovich has come back out. So now the AM category should be Klimovich and Maxwell. 12 seconds between them. No, Klimovich has not stopped yet. I'm looking at his starting from the pits.
Right, exactly. We show him as having one pit stop, but that's from the start of the race.
Yeah, but with only 12 seconds between, I don't know that's going to be enough to maintain the lead for David. So it's going to be tough here now with 15 or 14 minutes left to the end. And then we're still waiting on Porter and Sharp, the last two out in front, besides Klimovich, to make their stop. There he is, race leader Matt Porter, the Canadian. 2 Canadians in tonight's race. David Payton, the other, of course.
And that is Barrios directly behind him, Larry.
Yeah.
And Barrios now moves up back into second position, getting around Andrew Sharp. And now Porter's on the pit lane.
Yeah, that shows you how fast Barrios has been tonight. Remember, Sharp has not stopped yet. And Barrios has, and Barrios just passed him. So that's an amazing amount of time. Let's see what kind of stop Porter has. The bogey time's just about 11 seconds for Barrios. Let's see if Porter and Sharp can make theirs as fast.
Sorry.
And then we'll see if Klimovich comes down pit lane momentarily.
And remember, Larry, that Sharp there in the 24 machine, he started on the outside of the front row.
Yeah. Porter's out 10.9 seconds. Yeah, about 10 and a half seconds there for Porter. Good stop for him. See if Sharp's about 11 seconds. Klimovich now down pit lane. This should wrap up everybody's pit stops.
Yeah, he should be the last.
If he can get in and out as quickly as we just saw Matt Porter do, there's a chance he could be within striking distance of Dale Maxwell, because there goes Maxwell right now.
And Klimovich just now coming to a stop in his pit stall. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to end up probably still being about 12, 13 seconds back. And that's Bobby Childs. That does not look good for Bobby. There's damage on the front of that car.
Stubby's still in the chatter as he returns.
All right, so there's Bobby racing with
Tom Rathke.
Yep.
As they're going to come into 3.
And there's contact, and Bobby in the vortex of danger, I think, may have caused a little bit of that contact. Bobby gets rolling again, but not until both of them have had their moment together.
All right, let's take a look at this again if we can, Larry, and
yeah,
we'll bring it up.
And if you're not familiar with the vortex of danger,
yeah. Thank you, Randy Popst.
Yes.
But
you
from
watch
the
him.
looks of it, I think that Bobby, at least from the shot, it appeared as though he was pretty much along there. Maybe you're right.
Nah, he's at the point of braking for Rathke.
Yeah, he was barely
Bobby
out of the
was still
overlap.
back. Yeah. And so the stewards will take a look at this. I would be surprised if this isn't a 10-second post-race penalty. Very similar to the one we saw earlier, where was it Jenkins that got into the back of one of the Mazdas, Steve Daniels, right? We'll see if they make the same ruling that I would suspect. All right, well, what that did is it put Rathke right in front of Jeff Jacobs and Andrew Sharp.
And Stubby's in the chat, and all he can say is, well.
Oh. I mean, should we say tonight it was Stubby that jinxed it?
Yes.
He did say in the chat, hope Bobby don't do no Bobby things. I'm not saying that was a Bobby thing, but
Larry, for you and I, mission accomplished.
Bad luck has been bestowed upon Bobby in one way or another. That was not my fault.
Yep. Had
All
nothing
right,
to
so
do with it this time.
There's Rathke now coming back up to Bobby. We'll see if he tries the same move into turn 3 that Bobby just tried on him.
He's just gonna pit him. Do it.
He's got to know that there's likely a penalty coming, so he doesn't have to worry too much about Bobby. He's got to worry more about Andrew Sharp and Jeff Jacobs behind. Sharp has also gotten around Jeff Jacobs, and Sharp, we know, has been fast. I don't know what went into his pace tonight, why the race pace wasn't there, but he certainly has the 1-lap pace. Let's see if he can salvage something out of this, maybe even salvage a top 5 or top 4, maybe even a top 3, because I think this might be the battle for third when all is said and done. Yeah, because they're currently in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. I think they may be too far back from Porter for third.
Jeff Jacobs trying to sweep around the outside. Good defensive move there by Rathke coming into the brake zone.
Yeah, look at that, though, where Sharp's got to take the super tight line. Jacobs does a good job of taking a wide line, but it's a good fair fight, but doesn't leave him with good exit speed.
No, not at all.
Pretty good battle, though. And again, tonight, good points on the line. Somebody's going to get a 4th place finish out of this group. It's good, solid points for a night like this with round 6 out of 8. 2 more rounds to go here in the TCC. Touring Car Cup. Quick recap on points. Remember, Eric Violet came in tonight in the top spot. Andrew Sharp, you can see him here, battling for fourth. Sharp came in just 7 points down from Eric Violet, so he's got to be a bit frustrated. He's one of the ones not capitalizing on good points opportunities tonight. Barrios came in tonight third. Matt Porter came in tonight fourth. The Barrios and Porter are in good positions to move up a little bit. But Andrew Sharp, unfortunately, probably not going to enjoy tonight's results.
No, it's been I think a very right from the start of the race, Larry, literally from the drop of the green flag, a disappointment here tonight.
Yeah, now we do have 2 more rounds to go in this season. The next round in 2 weeks is going to be in your backyard, your favorite track, Summit Point.
Summit Point. Yes.
Yep, and that'll be a 2 30-minute sprint format. So what we're seeing tonight, the 1 hour with a pit stop. Next time out, no pit stops, 30-minute sprint. We reset the grid, 30-minute sprint. And then half points for each, I believe, is how they do that.
That is how it works.
To see. Yep. And then the final round will be at VAR 2 weeks after that for the full course. So I think we should run the Grand. I think that'd be a lot of fun with these cars.
No.
All the blind corners. It's VAR, though, in the full course. It's a great format for our finale.
Yeah. So I once, years ago, Larry, I raced the Grand Course, and I think it was 2004, 2005, and went for the test day with my teammates, father and son, who were racing in 1.8 liter Miatas in the same class that I was racing my CRX in. And the father, after doing 2 sessions on the test day, withdrew from the race because he couldn't string together the fact that there were 20 turns on the course. And he was getting lost out there. That Grand Course is something, but
it's
one of the
fully
things
scanned.
that it is.
It is scanned at iRacing. Feel free, and every once in a while it'll pop up in a public series of like the Skip Barbers or one of those. It is an interesting layout. It adds several blind corners to the lawn.
Yes, and it is actually a great course for slow momentum cars, because everything that it adds, which are portions of what's known as the Patriot course, there are essentially single lane, single car paths there.
I can't imagine trying to run a GT3 around that Patriot course.
No, not
but
at all.
We will be running the full course, the traditional 3.x mile full course that we all know and love in 4 weeks' time after we get to Summit, which isn't too far from VIR.
No. And by the way, for those of you that are watching, and just so that you know that we're not playing a joke on you, we will not have a race on Monday night, April Fool's Day, April 1st. We are taking that night off. I think that's the Bobby Childs rule.
That is true, actually. Not an April Fool's joke. That is actually the truth. But hey, take a look at this.
That is actually the truth.
While we talk about April Fools, it is no fooling. As Andrew Sharp's going to try and make the pass on the inside of Rafke. Again, they're still chasing Bobby Childs, and Bobby has been awarded a 10-second post-race penalty, as I predicted, and Bobby's going to pull in to the pits. It looks like maybe he just take himself out, service penalty now. Probably the sportsmanly thing to do, but look at Rafke now on the counter move. This is the battle for fourth between Andrew Sharp and Tom Rafke.
You think Bobby knows any songs from Canadian bands?
Oh, he knows lots of songs. You know, he's got the full catalog of karaoke every Friday night.
That's right.
You know he does.
I mean, I figure to take the place since Mike Dam isn't here tonight.
If this were a 90-minute race, I'd bring Bobby into the booth right now, but we do not have that kind of time tonight, as we are just 5 minutes from our final lap. And I'll tell you, these guys, Rafke and Sharp, are having a pretty good battle going on. It's Barrios out in front. Eric Violet has taken about a second out.
He's taking a little bit of time off,
Yeah, look at that. Look at Eric Violet chipping away, and you can see him in the background. It's not over yet. There's probably only 3 laps, maybe. We'll see if they get that third lap.
He's got a little over 3 seconds that he needs to make up, and whether he can do that in
and he's getting help right now.
Laps. Yeah, certainly.
As the 52, Victor Harris is just, holding his ground. He's going to move aside, I'm sure. And Barrios will try to use him in the draft.
Barrios doesn't want him to move aside. He's just trying to use him to pull him down the back straight here.
I bet that Eric Violet got a better run coming off of those curves than Barrios. So it's not over yet. this could still happen as we are coming down. I say there's probably going to be 2 more laps. We're now at the 56th minute. 1 lap should put us right about the 58th minute, and then we should be into white flag laps. So 2 laps to go in my estimation. Barrios 2.8 seconds ahead of Eric Violet for the lead in Club Sport Pro. Matt Porter currently in 3rd. Club Sport Am. It is Dale Maxwell 19 seconds ahead of David Klimovich, who started from pit lane. And then in 3rd spot there, Rodney Carey, who briefly led that class, but currently certainly solid on the podium. ST Pro, it's Thorman, big chunk ahead of Brennan Horan. David Payton dropped to 3rd after his spin a bit back. And at ST Am, it's Steve Daniel with the advantage over his rival Victor Harris and Robert Brist. And take a look at this as now Sharp in the battle with Jeff Jacobs as Rafke has dropped off the pace.
So this would be a big night for Barrios, Larry. Barrios took the win, I think, in round 1, if I remember correctly, here to start the season off. And from there on out, it has either been Eric Violet or it has been Matt Porter. Actually, I think Sharp had a win as well.
Yes, Sharp had the win. He had the win at Zandvoort. Porter had the win at Phillip Island, and Eric Violet had a couple of wins tossed in there.
Yeah, and Porter and Violet split the wins last round at Okayama.
Yes. So yeah, for Barrios, this would be a really good. This is what a night that he needed. He needed to get max points. He needed to keep Eric Violet behind him. He needed to kind of recover and start putting his bad finishes into the drop categories. So this will give him, if he can manage to hang on with a lap and a quarter to go, could give him his 2nd win of the season.
Yeah, but Violet now has knocked it down to, well, it's still, actually, it's been hanging steady right at about 2.5.
Yeah, he's given it all he's got there, Captain, but I'm not sure, unless some other traffic comes along, with 1 lap to go for Mariano Barrios, he's got to start thinking tonight's his, so let him focus on that. He's probably already turned off his relative. He doesn't even want to know where Eric Violet is.
No.
It's a trick I've done a few times in some races. I don't even want to know if he's close to me. I'll see him in the mirror if he gets close. Just turn that relative screen off and stop looking at that number.
All right, as Barrios now comes onto the front straight, he's going to take the white flag. 3 3/4 miles remaining here at Sebring for the driver of the 424 machine. In Club Sport Am, as you can see there on the ticker right now, Dale Maxwell with over a 20-second advantage over Klimovich, and I'm sure Klimovich must be thinking, what could have been if I'd started on pole in Am and not from the pit lane there.
Well,
so
the good thing to that, the other side of that story there for Klimovich is that he does stay ahead of his rivals in the points category. So he comes into tonight in the points lead. Right now, it looks like he's going to get 2nd most points in the M category, 9th most points overall. It's going to be a point salvaging for him. So not all is lost. I'm not sure what led to him starting from pit lane, but in the end, to get a 2nd place in class out of it, that's not the worst thing for Dale Maxwell, though. Good opportunity to snag a win here.
Brian Reyes says, I caught the clip last week. Doctor said to watch this race is my prescription. Oh my. I've got the fever.
There's only one cure.
More cowbell. Yeah, I know.
Yep. All right, so this is still the battle for 4th. Andrew Sharp, who started on the front row, struggled at times tonight, but he's been able to fight through these battles. Lost sight of the Porter, Violet, and Barrios out in front of him. Jeff Jacobs now as the last thing seems to be standing between Andrew Sharp and a 4th place finish.
And in Street Tuner, got Chris Thorman still with almost a 15-second advantage over his teammate Brennan Horan. Another 20-plus back to David Payton. And then in Street Tuner Am, Steve Daniel with over a quarter of a minute advantage over the Harris machine, Victor Harris, with Robert Brist running in 3rd.
Yeah, and they're in the ST Pros. Chris Thorman, who came into tonight, the highest of those that arrived tonight, is going to get those max points. Good for him. And then, of course, for Horan to be able to get a second place is good. But this guy, Mariano Barrios, did everything he needed to do tonight to get all the max points.
There you go. Friendly Neighborhood Racing's Mariano Barrios taking the win here tonight at Sebring, finishing second. And he knocked about a half second off, Larry, was D2D Sim Racing's Eric Violette. And now we're going to wait a few moments. Matt Porter from Orion Racing should bring the car, assuming he can navigate the Sunset Bend, the Sunset Turn. There he is, Matt Porter will bring his Toyota GR86 home in third. In AM, we are waiting for, there's Dale Maxwell. He is on the back straight. He should be able to take the win. We'll wait a few moments here.
Big slide on entry, though.
Yeah.
But he's just getting style points at this stage of the race.
Hey, if he can come across the checkered flag backwards, I'll give him every point he needs. All right, taking the win in Club Sport AM, Dale Maxwell. Congratulations to Dale. See, now he's trying to drift it out, and here we go. Here comes David Klimovich in the number 21 machine. He's trying to hold off Brendan Whitworth for I guess 8th overall, and as they come to the line, Whitworth ekes it out over Klimovich. That's not for position in class though, as Whitworth will finish 7th in pro, but Klimovich 2nd in AM. Crossing the line, there you go, taking the win in Street Tuner Pro, Chris Thorman, driver of the number 80 D2D Sim Racing car. Brennan Horn just now coming onto the front straight, and he will finish 2nd. And rounding out the three-peat, not the three-peat, but the top three here, all the sweep of the podium. That's what I meant to say, Larry. Of course I did. It is David Payton. All right, and now finally, our 2nd and 3rd place drivers in AM had already crossed the line, but taking the win in Street Tuner AM, it is Steve Daniel from SKKJ Racing. Victor Harris finishes 2nd. Robert Brist will finish 3rd. All right, let's do this, Larry. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll recap the finish, and then we'll talk to some of our podium finishers here at Sebring International Raceway, where you've just seen round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation. We will be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org. The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to Sebring International Raceway, everybody, where we've just completed round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation. I'm Greg Ginsberg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And hey, John, let's bring up that finishing order. Let's take a look at how things played out here. We'll start off with Club Sport Pro, our Toyota GR86s, where Mariano Barrios takes his second win of the season. Finishes ahead of D2D's Eric Violette by about 2 seconds. Matt Porter from Orion finishes in third. In Club Sport AM, Dale Maxwell takes the win over David Klimovich, with Rodney Carey finishing in third. And then if we move over to the Street Tuners, to the Mazda MX-5s, taking the win in Pro, Chris Thorman with Brennan Horn second, David Payton third. And in AM, Steve Daniel taking the win for SKKJ Racing, Victor Harris second, and finishing third, was Robert Brist. All right, so Larry, let's take a look. I think we've got some of our podium finishers sitting in the green room. And let's do this. Let's bring in our our Club Sport AM winner tonight, driver of the number 111 Toyota. It's Dale Maxwell.
All right, so we've got Dale Maxwell, our winner in the Club Sport AM category, with us here tonight. And Dale, looked like a great, solid outing for you. Looked like everything kind of went to plan, even made your pit stop pretty much right when the window opened. Tell me a little bit about the race as it went from your side.
Or unmute, or he can unmute himself and then tell us. Tell you what, why don't we try to come up there?
There we go. There he is. Hey, Dale.
Hey.
So just saying, it looked like the race may have had a plan. You even got the pit stop done early. Not much traffic to be fighting with. How did that look from your side?
Well, I mean, I tried to stay consistent. Didn't, try to wear out the tires too much. So I just kept my head down and kept driving.
Yeah, were you keeping an eye on where David Klimovich was? Because I don't know if you noticed, he had started from pit lane and kind of left you out there kind of figuring out if he was going to be able to catch back up. But you seemed to have solid pace, like it never was even much of an issue.
Yeah, when after I pitted it, I thought he had already pitted and he was just that far ahead of me. So I was trying to catch up to him, but he didn't pit probably until maybe like 20 minutes left in the race.
Yeah, he pitted very late. In fact, I think you might have been one of the earliest ones to come in for your stop, to be able to get that done and just sort of watch all the others fall to the wayside as you made your way back up to the pack.
Yeah, I didn't mean for that to happen. I didn't start with as much fuel as I wanted to, but it ended up working out to where I kind of got a really good pace and just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, it turned out a really solid race for you, a really good night for you to take that win in the AM category. But I'm sure you got some folks maybe from the team that you want to thank for helping you get the win.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank God. I want to thank my wife again, my family. They've been really supportive of me. Thank you guys for putting this on. You do a really, really good job. You present a really good broadcast. And all the guys in the league, from practice last night, we were all working together, just trying to get each other's driving habits down.
Yeah, well, a great solid race tonight. Preparation pays off with a win for the Black Flag eMotorsports team driver Dale Maxwell. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, let's move over now to Street Tuner Pro, Larry, and driver of the number 60 D2D Sim Racing Mazda. It's Chris Thorman.
Chris Thorman getting his second win of the season here, but with the Orion drivers, you had instead your rivals there on D2D to help push you along. You guys had a pretty exciting mix going there for a while, about halfway through the race. What did it feel like from your side?
Yeah, I thought it was just going to be an easy drive with no Orion, no chase, none of the fast guys. So,
yeah.
But David and Brennan was keeping up with me there the first half. It was a little bit of a pain because I didn't plan on that.
Yeah, they definitely had the pace, but then they started fighting a little bit in the pit stops, and you just sort of cruised along and came out of the pit stops, and you seemed they had a big of a margin. Did you and the other guys have a different strategy for pits?
No, they wanted to beat me, so they let me tell them what I was going to do, and then they just did some different stuff. but as soon as David passed the pit entrance, I knew something was up, so I had told him I was going to take tires, so I turned my tires off, and I just took my fuel and took off. And once I had that Toyota between us, all I did was kept like 4 seconds between me and that Toyota, so if they got around him, they weren't in my draft, and I just took it easy for the rest of the race.
I love the team orders.
They ain't gonna like hearing that part, but yeah, I just took it easy for the rest of the race.
You gotta do what you gotta do to get a win, and that's what you did tonight. You know, sometimes you gotta be a little deceptive, let them figure out their own strategies, right?
Yeah, and the fast guys weren't here. I'll still take it. It's still a win.
Now you say that, but you did get a win against them earlier in the year. You're certainly qualified as one of the fast guys too, as you now have 2 wins on the season. But I'm sure you got some folks you want to thank, maybe even those that you deceived tonight.
Yeah, I always got to thank Performa for paying all my bills, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without David and Brennan all helping me out with how to do this stuff. D2D all the way.
Yeah, of course. It's still a team, and you guys have a lot of fun together. It did look like a good battle, but for you, maybe a little better for you with the outcome here, getting the win for the D2D team here in ST Pro. So congrats, Chris, on the 2nd win of the season.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, Chris Thorman. so much for team orders, right, Larry?
I love it.
Oh my God, I love it.
That's the best.
And Brendan Horn thought he was going to have another interview tonight. Anyway, all right, let's move over now to our Street Tuner AM winner this morning, driver the number 96 SKKJ Racing Mazda MX-5. It's Steve Daniel.
All right, Steve Daniels joined us here, taking the win in the STM. And Steve, interesting night tonight. You had to overcome a bit of a spin maneuver that was put on you, but how do you shake that off? How do you recover from that and sort of keep your cool to continue on and still come away with a win in your class?
You know, you just gotta head down, keep going. I got close to Jeff when we got back in the pit, so that helped motivate me a little bit, but I knew I wasn't going to quite be able to keep up with him.
Yeah, you and Cranston had a great battle going on. Now you guys are different classes, but it doesn't change the fact that you're both driving the same cars and doing it. We had the camera on you for you guys for quite a while there. You guys seemed to be pretty even pace. It was, had to be some of the best fun, because once you did have the spin, you kind of spent a lot of time by yourself there for the second half of the race.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what happened to Victor. He was there with us at first and suddenly dropped, so I don't know if he had an internet connection issue or what, because the 3 of us, it felt like it was going to be a good battle, and unfortunately didn't happen.
Yeah, well, Victor somehow stayed in. He did end up taking 2nd in class tonight, but it was you with the win here in the STMs, and I'm sure you got some folks you want to thank for helping you get the win tonight.
As always, thank all the league admins, you guys doing this, and hopefully we can recruit some more people and get some more cars out on track.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get a few more out there. It is one of the best leagues I've ever seen. Great competition, great admins, a lot of fun tracks, a lot of great racing, and no different here tonight. A lot of fun out there, even if there were only about 20 cars or so. And for you, getting a win in class, always a good thing. So congrats, Steve, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks so much to Steve Daniel from SKKJ. And Larry, let's wrap up the interviews tonight here with Mariano Barrios. He took the overall win and your win in Club Sport Pro for Friendly Neighborhood Racing.
All right, Mariano Barrios, your winner tonight overall and taking the win in Club Sport Pro. Mariano, it looked like you had a plan and you executed it. You could make a liar out of me and tell me that you just winged it, but that looked awfully calculated and very well executed. Tell me a little bit about your race.
Well, I appreciate that, because I definitely winged it. Eric had so much pace in practice and qualifying, so we got a good start. I was able to jump Andrew, and I just thought, I'm gonna hang behind Eric, save as much fuel as I possibly can, and hope I can jump him in the pit stops. And I don't know, my tires just kind of came to me at some point, and he pit a little earlier than I expected him to, and then I just put my head down, put in as best laps as I possibly could, took as little fuel as I possibly could in the pit, so much so that I ran out on my in lap. But
we saw that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then just keep on going, and then that whole second stint was felt like I had the Jaws theme song playing in the background as Eric hunted me down, but I'm happy I was able to hold him off.
Did you have any thoughts about when he pit early of basically following him in, or maybe one lap later coming in, just be able to stick with him then? Or
You know,
did you
I-
really thought, oh, go ahead.
I did, because I thought maybe he saw something that I didn't. Because like I said, I was winging it, and I know Eric prepares a lot more than I usually do. So, but I just thought, you know, lighter car, good tires. I'm just gonna pump in the lap times. I had no traffic. I had a clean track. It was really lonely out there, to be honest, and it ended up working out.
Yeah, we were speculating, and only Eric could probably confirm that he may have decided to avoid you and stop giving you the fuel-saving draft, and that may have led to him, because he normally is one of the last guys to come in for a pit, but tonight he may have called an audible just because he was worried that you were going to do exactly what you did, save a bunch of fuel, jump him in the pits, and worked out very well for you, getting you that win. I think this is now your second win on the season, and really a win you needed if I'm looking at the point standings.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate Eric for towing me along all those laps, and you know, he's always great to drive with, and yeah, I mean, it is good to get a win. I've had a couple rough races, and patience, I think, is something I've been lacking a little bit. So that's what I thought when I was sitting behind Eric. Just be patient; it'll come to me eventually, and sure enough, it did.
Yeah, it absolutely paid off with a win. I can't wait to see the updated points. It's really going to be getting tight between you and Eric. And Matt and Andrew. This is going to be a crazy fight right up to the end. But Mariano, a win for you tonight. It's got to mean a lot. I'm sure you got some folks you want to thank for helping you get one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful to be back in on the winner's circle. But yeah, as always, I want to thank my wife. She's always you know, been supportive and pushing me to do good on these races and taking care of our baby and all that. So she's my #1 fan and my #1 supporter. So I always thank her.
Awesome, of course. None of this happens without the good family supporting you. So congrats again for the Friendly Neighborhood Racing winner tonight, Mariano Barrios, taking the win.
Have a great night.
All right, well, Larry, it's just good to know that you and I aren't the only ones winging it here tonight. Here is and if we take a look at the point standings, Eric Violet still has got a pretty good grip on that CS Pro Club Sport Pro Championship. He's got right now 10 points on Andrew Sharp and 16 on Mariano Barrios, but things definitely tightened up here after tonight. All right, so as we wrap things up, let's take a look at the events that we have coming up. And Larry and I kind of filled you in on some of them. But next week, next Monday night, the 25th of March, Larry and I are going to be right here, same place, Sebring International Raceway, for our last 90-minute endurance races of the season for the Ricmotech World Challenge for our GTP and GT3 racers. Again, no event in 2 weeks. That's April Fool's Day, April 1st, and that's for the Easter Monday holiday. And then in 3 weeks, March 8th, the Touring Car Cup, round number 7, 2 30-minute races at Summit Point Raceway. And we've been hawking it for almost 6 months, it seems, Larry. But coming up April 29th, the Ricmotech Sports Car Series for GT4 and LMP3 racers. It returns. It's going to be at Imola for the opening of season number 6. Most importantly, registration opens next week at xmsracing.com. So make sure to join us here over the next couple of weeks, and we'd love to see you on the grid for the Sports Car Series. So for Larry Lefty McLeod, for John Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you next week at Sebring. Have a great week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.